right, guys, welcome to Break Bread, where we talk about business, community, the journey, health and wellness, overall getting to understand local businesses, local cool people, and the journey from when it started to what's upcoming in the future. Today, I have a special guest because I used to live across the street and I used to come here all the time. So I'm going to let the person introduce themselves, where we are, the exact address, and what type of places this is.
I'm Anna McMillan. I'm the owner of the Garden Strathcona. We're at 868 East Hastings, Vancouver, BC. It's a cafe, it's a retail shop, it's an event space, and we met here back, when was that?
2019.
Oh my God, yeah, 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
And yeah, it's been a journey. We opened 6 years ago. So we've got a great community now. Yeah, 6 years in.
Yeah, big fan. I ran into this place at the time I was studying for my MBA. So I was just coming here for coffees and just like the vibes and everything that's in here, from the plants, the people, and just like consistency. I always felt like welcome every time I walked in here. The show's called Break Bread. So I wanted to touch on, what does break bread mean to you? And is there like a memory from the past or, current traditions that you deal with on the day-to-day now?
Breaking bread definitely feels like eating and drinking with family, friends, just that connection moment. I actually really interestingly listened to this podcast recently, a Huberman podcast, and I have a science degree, so I get really nerdy on that stuff too. But he was interviewing this neuroscientist, his name's Dr. Diego Borquez, and they're talking about the gut-brain connection and all of these, really cool new sort of discoveries that he's been working on. And one of the things that he mentioned was about how bonding happens neurologically over sharing food with people and the same food. So going out to dinner is great, but it's even more so if you're actually eating the same food or sharing off the same plate or sharing a drink. And I thought that was just so fascinating that there's literally, neurological connections happening around that enhance bonding, and it makes so much sense. So to me, like when I think about just like around the holidays, having big family meal and all the different like sensory components to it, like, candlelight on the table and the smells and the tastes, and it's just those special meals that aren't really about the food, but the food just enhances it, Yeah, so that's what it means to me. I think that, with having a cafe and having a business that we're in the business of making food for people to eat, especially together, that really ties into why I wanted to build this from the beginning. My original passion and my original thought was always to create this retail shop. I was super passionate about sourcing things. I worked in sourcing in my past corporate life, and finding really special things, intentional things, as really was and still I'm really passionate about, like conscious consumerism and just bringing awareness to people about what it is you're buying, who you're supporting, what it means, all of that. Anyway, but I wanted it to be rooted in community and connection and to be inspiring and to create conversations and for people to, just build off on that and for it to be sort of a catalyst to that connection. And that's when I was like, I can't do it without food. Like I have to have the food and the drink component to make this what I really want it to mean to people. And so that was when I started layering in the cafe side to this retail shop. And now the cafe is, I would say, even much more so the heart of the business, and, the retail products and supporting local is the heart of what we do. But having people come together to connect, to eat and drink together is what it's all about.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to just touch on, this is key break bread moment I have here specifically has to do with a special cookie that only comes from this place. But we will touch on that later on. I did want to go on to figuring out, Talk to me about the origin of the name. What sparked everything for you to be like, hey, this is what I want to do, and where we are, what else is here, from the most part, so people can know.
Yeah. So I guess the idea, the most formed origin of the idea came through the vision and goals process that I was working through back when I worked at Lululemon. I love, the corporate culture that they have around personal development and how much they encourage and support that. So it took a while, a couple iterations, going through like, what do I really want to do, and how can I imagine in 10 years what I want to build? But I finally started to create this image in my mind of this physical place that I had created, that I had built, and, all of the, what it looked like and all the aesthetic pieces behind it. But more so, I really wanted to create this sort of collective, is the way that I wanted to think about it, in the context of, sourcing all these incredible products that I wanted to show people, but also have all of the makers behind those products have an opportunity to come together, or have an opportunity for new business owners or new makers who are trying to introduce new products to the world a space to do that. And so it was a unique kind of combination of things. So started with the kind of retail aspect, grew to the idea of having the food and drinks component, and then also having a space. And so the space, I wanted to be flexible, that we could host events or host parties or workshops and markets. And I wanted, this just flexible space to bring people together, and rent it out to anyone else who wanted to bring people together to celebrate or, break bread together. And so I saw this building really by chance. I was working at that time for Kit & Ace. I worked for Kit & Ace right after Lululemon. Was kind of continuing working on this idea for this vision. And I happened upon this building at a work meeting, and they were talking about it, and it had been vacant for 3 years. They're trying to find this perfect tenant. And because of the 3 layers, levels to the space, it just fit all of these different aspects that I was trying to work out so perfectly. And it was like, one of those moments where you're like, this has just been delivered to me onto my lap, and I had to work on my business plan from there. So the name, The Garden, came from, 2 things. So the name The Garden I wanted to have as sort of this special place. And to me, growing up, my grandmother had a garden that I spend a lot of time with her in, and I've always been fascinated by plants. I have a biology degree. I love flowers, and I love growing plants, and I love all, nature, and just all of that made so much sense that when I closed my eyes and thought about like, what is that special place where you just feel so calm and at ease and connected to yourself, to me, that always kind of comes back to this idea of a garden. And then adding Strathcona was really because in this original vision, I wanted to have many locations in different places. And again, that be part of this collective idea where bringing different people from different communities together to then collaborate or ideate and that kind of thing. So my thought was to have the garden and then whatever location that was it. So that's where the Garden Strathcona was born.
I love that. I love the name. And I think all, based on your explanation on the vision for what you're trying to, I guess, like to build, you've built it. And, I feel that every time I walk in here, whether I'm bringing friends, visiting, the garden is like a must go to stop for me. Coffee, amazing. Treats, amazing. All around, I'm biased, but at the same time, again, I'm not paid to say this, but I do love coming here, and it's a consistent stop for me to keep coming. I know you mentioned Strathcona. Let's touch on the community in Strathcona, and how does it feel to be here? Because Strathcona to me is a gem, even though I do say that I did live here across the street for a little bit. But it's one of those special places that not many people know about. I feel like they pass through this place.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're right on East Hastings. It's a super, super busy street. People commute along here. I forget what the stat is, but there's some crazy number of thousands of cars that drive by every day. But you're right, not a lot of people necessarily know about it or stop and check out the little businesses here. It's a really special community. It's one of the oldest residential communities in the city, which again, a lot of people don't know about. So behind us to the south is just all these beautiful old character homes, and been here for over 100 years. There's also new, developments coming in. So there are new residents moving into the neighborhood as well, which is always just great to have fresh faces and new people, especially younger people. We're seeing like so many young families coming in, moving into the neighborhood. And then there's also this incredible creative community that's been here again for a really long time, both in the residents as well as there's lots of really cool creative businesses, little agencies, design shops. Maker Labs is right around the corner. I don't know if you know of it, but it's this huge building with every different kind of like tool and technology imaginable, and people go in and like create super cool things. So it's really unique and just brings such a diverse mix of people together. The other really cool thing is Eastside Culture Crawl. So every year in November, the Eastside Culture Crawl has artists open up their studios. So there's a couple of big buildings with lots of studios in them, but it's really special that the residents in behind have like these cool little hidden home studios, and they open those up, and it's just one of the most incredible little creative experiences you'll see. Yeah. So just, it's hard to explain, but we have just the most amazing regulars. We have probably 80% of people every day that come in are regulars that we just see multiple times a week, sometimes every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And it's so nice to just have those connections. And our baristas have, really close relationships. And it's just, so great.
It's amazing. And you're right, like all the art that you can see, especially specifically in this area, it's beautiful, from outside the buildings to all the studios that are around here. And I only found that out recently for one of those crawls. So it's must see, and people should keep coming and obviously come check out the garden. I wanted to touch on the vision and goals, but in a different view. If you could go back in time right now and sit down with that person that was sitting, thinking about the vision for this place, what's one piece of advice you'd give to them?
Oh, that's a really hard question, because I genuinely believe that for a first-time business owner, you have to have a pretty heavy dose of naivete to really get into it. So I think if I had known all the things that I would know now that I could tell myself, I might scare myself into not doing it, because it's been really hard. I mean, COVID aside, just starting a business, especially that has so many layers to it, opening up a retail shop is one thing, or opening up a coffee shop is another thing, but having, this events business and a retail store and the coffee shop and a full menu, running a kitchen, I think all of that all at once was really a lot more than I think fully understood. So I think, it's a little bit boring, but I would tell myself some practical things around how to deal with, the building permits in the city and all of that, because there's been a huge learning for me and frustration with that. The city of Vancouver, if you're watching, doesn't make it easy for small business. And I could talk about that all day long. And I would love to, in some way, help create some change or support for other small business owners that are opening up a physical place, because it's just, they make it so hard. So yeah, I think I would want to really educate myself on that more
Okay.
than I had. Yeah.
And that, thank you for sharing that. And I think that it's very key here, you know, just making sure that people understand that it's not every road is easy, and you know, and it takes a lot.
Yeah.
And that being said, what are things, or what's one thing that you do right now from a health and wellness perspective that keeps you going, so you can keep, you know, pouring into the business and then take a break and pour into yourself so you can keep showing up?
Yeah, the burnout is real. It gets pretty intense at times. I definitely experienced that both right before COVID and then during. So for me, monthly acupuncture is my go-to. I've been seeing my acupuncturist Haley for almost a decade now, and it's just such a critical kind of reset and balancing moment for me. So that is kind of a non-negotiable. I always make sure that I have that in my calendar. And then, you know, having a business where you're really physical, so just on your feet all day, working, you know, 12 hours on your feet. When we first started, I was in the kitchen all day, making baked goods and food, and then prepping for the next day, and then doing all of the business stuff at night. It can be so physically exhausting that, you know, you want to tell yourself like, oh, I need to still have an exercise routine, and like, I still need to do all these things, but you're physically just so drained. So I think at that point, I just said, you know, if I only do like the yin yoga class, then at least I'm allowing my body to have that kind of rest moment. We did have Ash Balluz doing philosophy at the time. It was called Philosophy with Ash Broder. And that was the best because I just participated in every class. It was like this, you know, moment. I also had one of my good friends, Christy Baumgartner, was doing a weekly, we called it, what did we call it? Just yoga and cookies, I think. So we would do a yoga class, very like restorative yin style, and then we would have cookies and tea at the end, which was so great to have that sort of added connection component. So I really, early days leaned into the things that were sort of the easiest for me to do. And now I definitely, you know, try to get out and walk as much as I can, because I've realized that walking, especially along the seawall near the water, is just so much of a mental and physical wellness practice that benefits me so much. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you also named a few legends that I've met along my journey here in Vancouver. Speaking of Vancouver, what's one thing or things that you want Vancouver to know about the garden?
One thing I guess that I feel I still get a bit surprised by is every day we have people come in that have never heard of it, and they're like, wow, did you just open up? I'm like, no, I've been here 6 years, and everyone's really surprised. So I love that people are still discovering it and still being kind of like wowed when they first come in. That's just like such an amazing feeling to see when that does happen. But a lot of people still don't know that we have this space up here where we're filming. So this is our second floor studio space, and we rent it out as well as host our own functions up here. So I guess I would love to kind of put it out to the city that, you know, we do have this space, and I love to do collaborations with people. So if you know anything like the yoga and cookies that we used to do with Christy, we've got some wreath workshops coming up with a really talented florist. We provide, you know, some food and snacks and drinks and things. So I just love meeting other business owners. I love collaborating, chatting, brainstorming, all of that. So I'd love to, connect with more people on that.
That's amazing. And the menu, let's talk about the menu. What's one thing you'd recommend for someone to come check out?
Well, our like absolute most popular ever since day one has been the mushroom bowl. But the curry bowl is one that we started actually during COVID, and we had to take it off the menu because of complications, but we've revamped it and now it's back. And a lot of people were really upset that we took it away back in COVID. And so I want to kind of like put the PSA out there to those people, like, it's back.
It's back.
You can get it. It's better than ever. And it's really good. So yeah, those two bowls, I would say. But I don't know. I have a hard time because there's like our kale Caesar salad is so good and it's vegan option. You can also get it with a hefty dose of Parmesan cheese, which is great. Grilled sandwiches are so good. I don't know. We use Fife sourdough, and it's just, like, in my opinion, the best bread in the city. So you can't go wrong with this grilled sourdough sandwich.
And what about treats?
Well, you said you were going to talk about the cookie.
We'll bring that later on.
Okay.
I did want to touch on a big key thing here that we did touch on loosely earlier. I know that you mentioned that you wanted to open up a space where you could support people. I know I've noticed that there's a bunch of brands downstairs that I've become familiar with, and this is a place where there are a lot of local businesses. And how do you go by reaching out or connecting with these local businesses to even have here? And,
yeah. A lot of them I just kind of have either met or discovered along the way. But we're always having new people kind of reach out to us as well. So the sad part for me is that it's such a small little footprint. And so I can't have everything that I would want to. One day I'm hoping to be able to kind of expand that whole offering. But yeah, I sort of like to cycle through different things so that we can highlight different people, different products. When something really resonates with our community, then I usually try to keep it because people get mad when we don't have it. So, oops, I just definitely rubbed against the microphone.
Very fine.
Okay. So sourcing our products is a super fun process for me. I love doing that research. I love discovering something new, trying it for the first time and feeling like, okay, this really fits with what we're trying to bring to our community. So I really focus in on the sustainability aspect. So not a lot of plastic packaging, things that are either reusable or recyclable, repurposable, and then local companies obviously is the key, just to support our local economy, you know, rather than someone else's economy where they're not spending their money back in our neighborhoods.
And keep growing the ecosystem, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then giving more opportunities for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think, you know, we've covered everything. I do know that we have one more thing, which is break bread. So we do have to break bread because it's a show called Break Bread.
Oh, yes.
And
okay.
do you have something for us to break bread?
I do.
All right.
Let's get it.
Let's see it.
Okay.
What do we have here? You want to show the camera?
Da da da.
Boom.
Boom. This is our famous chewy salted chocolate chip cookie. And it's a recipe that I created to be a vegan cookie that we would have. Didn't think too much of it beyond that. And people are obsessed with it. So it's our feature main, every day since day one, best-selling cookie. And it's totally ethically sourced, which is something that I'm personally really proud of. Not everybody cares about it, but I do. So I love the fact that, you know, it's primarily all organic ingredients, fair trade ingredients, and it's vegan. There's no palm oil. There's no refined sugar. It's made with coconut sugar. It's got some protein, some fiber. It's just like the best cookie in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
hey, I'm a fan. You know I've said this before. So I guess we're gonna break it in half.
okay, let's do it.
I'm gonna do a little cheers. Break bread. We're going up and down. Oh, 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 oh. That was a fail. Here, let's do it here. Oh. Here, let's.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, I get the big piece?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Here we go.
All right.
And
cheers.
Cheers.
I'm going to still eat these every day.
Yeah, like I was buying bags at one point. Like every weekend, ice cream sandwich. I've got ice cream, two of these cookies, slam. Life is good.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually something I need to work on, is an ice cream sandwich version of this to sell. It's been on my mind for a few years.
And we're gonna call it the TAF.
Done.
We'll call it the TAF.
Done.
Well, this is amazing. As always, just want to say thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing. And honestly, just thank you for listening in your space. This show is a passion project of mine. It was also same concept around that vision and goals. Always wanted to start something similar to this, and big shout out to Lululemon. I'm able to do certain cool things throughout the city, and this is one of them where they're supporting just from a all around, just telling me, hey, if you want to do it, you should just try it out and see how it goes. That being said, for all the viewers at home, for you to experience this, we are doing a little giveaway. So make sure you go to the YouTube and you also go to the Instagram. Follow all the pages. So you have to follow Break Bread the Show. Subscribe to the YouTube, Break Bread the Show on YouTube. But also this business on Instagram, what's it called?
The Garden Strathcona.
The Garden Strathcona. And more details on the giveaway will be on the Instagram. Just so you guys don't scheme or plan. Got to go to the Instagram. All details will be there and it'll be super fair. But essentially giving you the opportunity to come here and experience the garden and then tell us what you think. Thank you for tuning in on another episode of Break Bread, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.